I got such a great couple of emails last night from a student, and the questions that she was asking are just so good. And I just wanted to also just give a little shout out to that student that um, they just really asked these questions so well. They sent me an email with screenshots and like really, really well written questions to go with those screenshots. And so I just wanted to say that, like, good job, good on you. Keep it up. And for those of you who have questions, um, bring them on. I'm into it. So here we have question number 1 that I'm going to go over. The question says, if I remember correctly, the neutral value is always 1. And that's so true. The neutral value for the B, right? What is the period? Well, we automatically think of B as being the letter that controls the period of the sine function. And it is equal to 1 in this question. There's a secret 1 in front of there. And also, that is the neutral value. And because I didn't see the period in here, I just put 1, but it was incorrect. I thought that the period always comes before the theta. So great question, very well thought out. Attached a screenshot of the question that they're working on. This is wonderful. So let's answer the question here. So the idea here is that yes, the B value is 1, but the period, you need to use the 2 pi over B formula in order to find the period. So 2 pi over B, in this case, since we have a neutral value, is 2 pi over 1, which is 2 pi. So 2 pi is the correct answer for this question. So F is your correct answer. Really great question. This is a common question that comes up every year. People, the difference is that the period is the actual length and the B value is what helps you find the period. So great question. Happy to answer that. Let's go on to the student's next question. Okay, so the student asked, here's the question. For H, I thought it would be negative pi over 4 because I think the points are moving towards the negative sign and it has a pi over 4 difference for the points. So I thought it was negative pi over 4. Not sure how to interpret it. Great question. Let's take a look. All right, going back to my iPad here, switching around. Okay, so yes, there is a typo in the summative assessment. So maybe this question has that typo. Maybe this is the one. But let's take a look here. So the question is, name the K, A, B, and H values. Now this is tricky because I didn't specifically go over a question where you had to write down the values from a picture. So I did push you a little bit with this question. I don't think this one has a typo in it though. So let's see. So looking for my K value first, and I'll just go over the whole question just so that this helps everyone who has a question. So K is equal to whatever this green line, that is the symmetry line in our function, and that is -3 in this case, so good job. And then your A value, the amplitude, that's the distance from the maximum to the center line, the K line, and that value is 1 in this case. So awesome job on that. And then the B value, we would need to see how far does it go when it completes an entire cycle. So in this case, we see that an entire sine graph, the little shape of sine, fits between 0 and pi. And so therefore, pi minus 0 is pi. So the total length is pi. And so we could say the period is equal to pi. And so 2 pi over B is equal to pi. So for some of us, it's kind of obvious that B has to be equal to 2. because in order to get 2 pi to turn into pi, you have to divide 2. But if that's not obvious to you, you can try to solve this little tiny equation for b. So a few different ways to solve this. I know some of us have a different strategy. I was taught to always cross multiply whenever possible, turn it into a proportion, a ratio with an equal sign. So we got 2 pi times 1, that's 2 pi. And then b times pi is b pi. And then I divide by pi on both sides to get b alone. And then you get 2 is equal to b. So a few different approaches for figuring out what b is, if you needed some help. And then h, remember h is the value of, what, if you're shifting left or you're shifting right, left or right, left or right. And so the h value here, if you take a look, you can see that we start our sine graph at the k line. So you're searching for that first point. There's no points highlighted over here, and there's no points highlighted over here. So you can just ignore anything else that's on this graph. So pretend this doesn't exist, pretend this doesn't exist. And the h value is how far shifted to the left or the right from 0 your function is. So since this function is at 0 when it starts, that means that you're not shifted left or right at all. You added 0, which is not even changing anything. So you could say that the h value is 0, which is the neutral value for h. Okay, so really, really great question. I'm having a great time with this question here, really motivating me to be, I feel like I'm a math teacher again. I'm answering questions. Okay, last question here. This one does have a typo. So beware of this if you get this question on your summative. Everybody gets slightly different questions, but there's a good chance you'll get this one. Look what this student did. Amazing, 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 amazing. They took this and attached a question, and they attached a screenshot of the thing in Schoology, and they attached a screenshot of their work. Amazing. Just like really spot on. This is how you make your question very clear. This is how you make it easier for me to give you a very clear response as well. Okay, so, I love this question. Let's read the question that was emailed just to make sure that I'm doing my job. I want to make sure I'm answering the question correctly as best as I can. Okay, so this says, so I'm not sure if I'm doing this correctly. I've attached my work, but I couldn't find my answers among the needed to select. So I'm wondering if I did anything wrong, because I got the worksheet for level 1 and 2 correct. So now I'm not sure if I'm doing it correctly. And also I've been doing math for over 2 hours, so my brain is mushy. Sorry. I know it's a lot. It's a lot. But I'd rather give you more than less, right? Sorry. Okay, so let's go through this and see what the answer to the question is. Yes, there is a mistake in this question. All of your answers are not listed. So let's take a look. So I'm gonna just hand draw a graph here. And I know that my k value is, or my k value is 0 because there's no k listed. My amplitude is 3, so that means I'm going up to 3 and down to -3, there and there. And then I like to make a little path so that my graph looks nice. All right, and then I forget what colors I used. I think I used red next. Yeah, red. So I can see here that my b value is 1. So that means my length of my whole period is going to go from 0 to 2 pi, so just like a normal sine graph. But this value here means that my graph, oh, I forgot what color, dang, oh well, that my graph moves to the right pi over 2. So instead of starting at 0, this value is going to start at pi over 2. And then you're going to end pi over 2 further than 2 pi, which pi over 2 is 4 pi over 2. So it would be 5 pi over 2. And then I'm just going to mark all the values in between. So halfway between would have been just pi. So now that's moved over pi over 2. So in the middle is now 3 pi over 2. And then I'm trying to think here on the spot. It's hard. So between, it would have been, the peak would have been at pi over 2, and we're pi over 2 further. So now we're at pi. Hey, look at me go, look at me go. And then halfway, okay, so then this would actually still be 2 pi. I'm a little off here. That's okay, though. We don't have to make everything perfect. So this is going to be 2 pi here. All right, so start at 0, end at 0, maximum, middle, minimum, and then I draw my beautiful graph there. All right, so then this point here, it's on the middle line, which is pi over, we start at pi over 2 and then 0. This point here would be at pi 3. This point here would be at 3 pi over 2, 0. This minimum is at 2 pi negative 3. And then this center point, again, is at 5 pi over 2, 0. Okay, making some progress here. Yep. And this question, let's see, maybe this one, let's see if we can find those points. So pi over 2, 0. Okay, yep, we got that one. I'm going to kind of mark them off as I go so I can keep track of what I'm doing. And then pi, comma 3. Okay, yep, that's that one. Got it. And then 3 pi over 2, 3 pi over 2, 0 is not on there. Yeah, so this one has a typo. Sorry about that. And then 2 pi is at negative 3. So do I have that one too? Nope. Sorry. I must have looked at this graph wrong. Okay, so that one's not on there. And then 5 pi over 2, 0. Nope. All right, so I must have been looking at the wrong graph when I made this question. I apologize, but you know what? Hey, we're all in this together. That's why I love questions. All right, let's take a look at this next question. This next question is, I think just they wanted to double check that they were doing things right. And this is a challenge question. So this one was level 3. Proud of you for giving this one a shot. These get really, really, oh, I see. This is just their work on the question. And look, we got the same answers. So that's awesome. I can see that they did the question. Okay, I see what's going on here. This is not another question. This is them doing the question, just using the graphs from the worksheet. Great strategy. Wow, really cool to get to see your work. I miss that, you guys. I really miss getting to see your handwriting and your color coding, and it's really nice to see. Okay, so I guess that's it for this little video. I hope you guys are all doing well, and keep the questions coming because I love answering them.